If you've been searching outside of yourself for validation, for clarity, for the right answer, I want you to pause and come back home to yourself. Because the most powerful shift in personal growth is the moment that you realize that you are no longer outsourcing your worth or waiting for someone else to give you permission to live your life. You are your own source. And today's conversation is going to help you reconnect to the wisdom inside of you, the wisdom that you've always had, but maybe stopped trusting along the way. So take a breath. Today is about turning inward and remembering who you are.
Welcome to Shine Bright with Coach Sarah Kay. I'm Sarah, your go-to coach for mindset, money, relationships, and all the little things life throws your way. Here, we blend human design with real-life tools so you can heal, grow, and create a life that feels like you. I'll share stories, strategies, and soul shifts to help you shine brighter than ever before. Grab your favorite comfort beverage and let's chat.
Hi, friend. Welcome back to Shine Bright with Coach Sarah Kay, the podcast that helps you break free from what's holding you back so you can live a life that truly lights you up. I'm your host, Sarah, and I'm so excited that you're here. Before we dive in, though, I want to set the tone for this conversation. So many of us were never taught how to trust ourselves. Instead, we learn to look outward for approval, validation, direction, or reassurance, especially if we've lived through trauma, abandonment, or instability. Over time, that outward focus can quietly disconnect us from our own inner voice. Today's episode is an invitation to pause that pattern, to explore what it looks like to come back home to yourself, to rebuild self-trust, and to remember that healing isn't about someone else fixing you. It's about reconnecting with the wisdom that's already within you. This is a conversation about self-honoring, boundaries, daily practice, and choosing yourself, even if it's a little uncomfortable. And if you've ever felt like you've lost touch with your inner compass, I want you to know that you're not broken, you're remembering. Today, I'm honored to welcome a woman who has walked through abandonment, emotional and physical abuse, deep adversity, and has transformed her pain into wisdom and purpose. She is passionate about daily practices, accountability, and self-trust as a pathway to healing. She believes that when we stop looking outside of ourselves for answers and start trusting what's within, everything changes. Please help me welcome Peggy Pease. Yay!
Thank you, Sarah.
Peggy's my first guest, and I'm so excited.
Thank you.
So, Peggy, thank you for being here. And to start us off, can you just give us a brief personal story that's connected to trauma, healing, mindset shifts, or a transformation that you've had in your life?
Well, absolutely. And I'm so happy to be here with you, Sarah. I've experienced everything from abandonment to physical abuse, mental abuse, and it was never easy. And I found ways that I could get through these things and grow as a person. And it's made me very happy that even though they were treacherous times and hard to go through, that now I have found ways to cope with those things as well as impact others in a positive way at the same time.
That's awesome. And it's nice that you always had yourself. Like we always have ourselves.
Yes.
Even if there's nobody else around to help, you have yourself.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy that you figured out how to trust yourself and be there for yourself.
Yourself is always there for you. And it's funny that you're saying that, but that's one of the biggest things that I learned. You can't abandon yourself. You can, but you can learn how not to.
Right. And it's important that you did that, especially going through all those hard times. Like you very easily could have been like, I'm worthless, and just gone completely opposite. So I'm glad that you chose to go the self-support route. All right. So I've got some questions. When you were in your hardest season, what were you hoping someone else would give you that you eventually learned to give yourself?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. So for me, finding security and safety was really a big thing. And I would go from person to person, friendships, relationships, and look for that feeling of security, feeling safe. And it's kind of funny because it was actually from going to these different people expecting to get that feeling from them. I would get it, but it was always temporary. So knowing that, then I was like, okay, there's something wrong that you keep reaching outward to find these things, that when you reach inward, then it's permanent and no one can take it away from you.
Yeah.
And you're not putting such important things in other people's hands. And I want you to know, I do understand that we all look outward. It's human nature, but it has to be so with certain limits and boundaries.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, I know that once I learned these things, I can trust myself and find those things within myself.
Yeah. And I think too, like, at least for me, like, I think, like you said, the natural instinct is to look outward because, you know, you're used to your parents or older siblings or friends or whatever to help. But really, yes, they might be helpful, but nobody's ever going to always be there except you. I don't care if they're your parent, your best friend, your roommate, like nobody is always going to be there except for you.
It's interesting because you mentioned, you know, your friends and your parents. For me, with my parents, and I've told you a little bit about it, I was adopted. So that gave me a little bit of abandonment issues. And also my mother that adopted me was abusive to me mentally and physically for years. And so I think that's what accentuated me looking for that safety and security, because it was not in my home the way that it should have been.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's so much that we could unpack there.
Yes,
but,
yes.
I just think of like some of the stuff that I went through, and I wasn't physically abused or anything like that, but I remember being like a teenager and an adult and thinking, why didn't my parents do this? Why didn't my parents do that? But ultimately, I had to come to terms with the fact that they're just doing the best that they can with the information that they have and the knowledge that they have. And really, like, you got to give people grace.
Absolutely.
As much as it hurt you when she was physically and emotionally and verbally abusing you, that might have been the best that she could do at the time. That's all she knew better to do, you know? So, and I'm just using your mom as an example of right now because of using it, but that's the case with everybody, right?
Absolutely. Parents are people too. And we have to think about what they went through in a whole different time and how they coped.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. All right, next question. For someone who has lived in survival mode or people-pleasing mode for years, how can they begin to hear their own voice again?
So when I thought about this, when you gave me just an idea of kind of a path that we would be going along in this conversation, I am guilty of being a huge people pleaser. And when I say this, I mean for probably about 45 years of my life. I don't want to give my age here, but about 45 years.
So you're only 47, right?
That is correct. That is correct. So I think the most important thing that I realized is by people pleasing, you're not being true to yourself, and you're also not being true to other people. And if you wear a mask, you're eventually wearing that mask, not just for other relationships, but for yourself. And then you start to wonder what's true and who you really are.
Yeah.
And if I've learned anything from people in relationships and friends, they might not like the truth, but they respect the truth. And if you think about it, anyone that you go to for advice, their opinion, it's usually someone that you know is truthful to a fault. And you can't have authenticity without being true to yourself and who you are.
Yeah.
And you can also give of yourself too much to different people that when you're left, you've got nothing for yourself because you are trying to do that. I understand where mine stems from being adopted and having abandonment issues. but it's a no-win situation for anyone. And when I say I tried to please, I was married for 12 years and I literally was myself with other people and someone else for him.
Yeah.
And it was a 25-year pattern. So it was not something easy when I thought about breaking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time. And I'm glad that you recognize that, even if you didn't realize that you were doing it at the time, but like you eventually recognized that you weren't being authentic with him. And is that ultimately kind of what led to you getting divorced?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because he was doing the same thing.
Oh, well, isn't that interesting?
So it's two codependent people sweeping things under the rug, putting on that face for each other, and you're just spinning your wheels going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think communication comes into play too.
Yes. No one wants to ruffle the waters.
Right. Yeah. Everybody wants that peaceful relationship. Nobody wants to challenge hard things. And I think that that's important. I mean, I've never been married, but I've been in relationships, and you're right. Like, you want everything to be this fairy tale.
Right.
But the reality of it is that it isn't a fairy tale. It's we're two humans.
Right.
We both have two different backgrounds. We were raised differently. We do things differently. And if you're not authentic, then you might be signing yourself up for something that eventually will fail.
Absolutely.
Because you're not being true to who you are. So you're not presenting that person to the other person.
You can't keep that mask on forever. Eventually it's going to slip.
Yeah.
And boy, does it slip when it slips. It's true. Boy, does it slip. Yes.
Yeah. Plus, it's just hard to keep up with that, right?
Yes.
You have to remember.
Exhausting.
That's how I feel about people lying. Like, you have to remember the lie. You have to remember who you lied to.
Yes.
And it's exhausting.
Very true.
It just drains you, I think, too.
It's so true.
All right. So the next question I want to ask you, Peggy, is what are some sneaky ways that we abandon ourselves without realizing it?
Absolutely. So for me, that would be falling back into old patterns.
Okay.
Looking for instant gratification was a big one for me.
Okay.
I might be maybe feeling a little under the weather, maybe a little lonely, and think to myself, you know, I could go shopping. I could call this person that I know isn't that great for me, but they step up and they're there for me in the moment, although they leave me empty. Having boundaries and stretching them a little bit too far, and putting yourself around the wrong circle of people, allowing negativity in your life or negative people and negative energy. Especially now they say misery loves company. So if you're thinking about kind of stepping back and falling off your emotional wagon, there's people that are very happy to just give you a hand and help you do that.
Oh yeah.
So to have that inner strength is really a big deal, and something that's not easy, but well worth it to learn.
Yeah.
Another big part of it is not trusting ourselves. I want to mention to you, I think that's a huge thing. When you don't trust yourself, it's easy to fall back because you have nothing to lose anyway. You haven't built that connection and relationship with yourself. So you don't value that within yourself. So it's easy to abandon it. That's really big.
Right. And if you're trusting someone else more than you trust yourself, then of course you're going to slip back into that default habit that you're probably not even realizing you're doing it. It might be subconscious, going back to those people that you know are going to disappoint you, but instant gratification, they make you feel better for a little bit until they slip back into to their authentic self.
So true.
Yeah. All right, next question. What is one boundary that you had to learn to set in order to protect your inner peace, even if it disappointed other people?
My boundary, which really there were so many that I needed to set. I didn't even know what the word boundaries meant. And I'm serious when I say this, until about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I'll stretch it and say maybe 10 years ago I thought about it, but putting them into action, that is a different story. Making that commitment and really being true to that is so important.
Yeah, knowing that you need to have boundaries and actually implementing the boundaries are two totally different things. Both have a level of hard to it.
Yes.
But in my experience, implementing them is the hardest out of it all.
So you asked me what are some of the things that I definitely had to make a change to. And One of them was saying no and not feeling guilty about it. Like saying no. And you know what? Like, don't hesitate to tell your friends and tell people close to you, your family, that you're working on yourself and you're working on becoming a better you. And anyone that truly loves you, they're going to respect that and they're going to want to honor you in that. You know, it's like, God forbid, if someone have an alcoholic problem and they're going through the 12 steps, of course they let their family and friends know so they can honor and try to help them along that path. But saying no was a big one. I had the urge always to buy people things. I felt like I would get their true love and admiration if I bought them things, if I took them on a trip. I mean, this was a big deal for many, many. So really saying no, and also not being impulsive about decisions that were really big and important, and saying, you know what, give me this time to think about this and I will get back to you. So honoring yourself to have that safe space and know that you're in safe relationships where you can stand your new ground. You know, there's a saying, I can't remember where I heard it, that true friends and people that love you meet you where you are. There's friends and people that they will fight you. They won't be your friend anymore because you're trying to stand on your own feet.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So
And
true.
I've experienced people who aren't working on themselves. And I'm not saying that everybody has to work on themselves, but you know, they don't understand why you're working on yourself. They like the way that you were, but are not as supportive as what I was hoping for as somebody that I considered a best friend or, you know, a close family member, that sort of thing. But then there's also the people that have such high expectations for themselves and others. So then sometimes you're disappointing them if you're not at a certain level too. So it can be a little bit tricky, but that goes back to our whole point of this episode is trusting yourself, coming back to yourself versus looking outside for the external validations.
I wanted to add one thing. As you were talking, you hit the head of a nail for me. If you think about it, if you are not true to yourself with boundaries, limits, it is a welcome invitation. And I know we both know this, of narcissists, gaslighters, people that take advantage. They're like, oh, I can call Peggy. I don't have money this week. I can call Peggy. She'll pay for me. She can buy me this. It is a welcome mat to invite the wrong type of energy into your life and relationships. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to the point you made about buying people gifts. So have you figured, like, have you yet? And it's okay if you haven't yet, but have you figured out like why you would buy people gifts? Like,
absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to share that with us?
Certainly. I buy people before I would buy people things and do this to really, absolutely, truthfully, buy their love, buy their affection. I might need a favor later. It was more like a transaction with people. But ultimately, if I really, really, really think deep down in my heart, it's to, oh, that Peggy, she's so generous. And oh my gosh, she bought me this and she bought me that. And I'm talking about being in relationships and like paying for a man. One of them, I paid for almost everything for like 17 years.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we're talking, if there is DA, dating, BDA, Bad Daters Anonymous.
You're like, I'd be the
BRA, Bad Relationships Anonymous. I would be the poster child. Okay. It's true. That's okay though. That's built up to making me be on the path that I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that sad? Why did you buy people things? To buy their affection.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily sad per se. Like it's sad that you felt like you had to do that, but that's what you felt like you needed to do in the moment because you didn't know any better. And I do know, so Peggy is one of the most generous people I know. She will buy gifts and you still buy gifts. And I'm not trying to say that you're doing it to buy affection, but I believe now you do it for other reasons. So because I know you enjoy buying gifts. So why do you buy gifts for people now?
I'm so glad she added that on because I'm like, but wait. So I have learned I'm very good at having mind control over myself through habits and creating healthy patterns.
Okay.
And I literally, in my mind, in the moment, and often before I'm in that situation, if I know I'm going to dinner with Susie on Friday night, in that moment, in the car, before I walk in, I will say, okay, you are buying your dinner. They're having their own dinner. Okay. This is not an occasion. It's not someone's birthday. It's not a special celebration. This is only you. And I do that in that moment. And this is how it's going to go. So I stop. I'm just in the moment, and I refocus on what is best for me as an individual, as a single woman, my own, I have my bank account. So I practice patterns in like 15 minutes before the circumstance is going to happen.
To kind of remind yourself, hey, you could buy this person's meal, but you aren't obligated to do that. I don't have to buy their meal to forget them to like me. And want to be around me.
A self-reflection moment.
Well, and I think that's a good point too, because I mean, it's been 5 to 10 years since you've been doing all this work with yourself. And to your point just now is every single time you go out to eat with somebody, you still have to remind yourself. So it's not like all of a sudden you flip this switch and your brain's like, nope, I am going to not be a people pleaser. And I'm not, like you have to constantly remind yourself. And I think it's good that you take that moment of stillness, a few minutes before you meet with somebody to say, you know what, and that doesn't mean that you don't change your mind, but
and that I don't slip up.
And that you don't slip up. But I would hope that little pep talk with yourself reminds you that I don't have to do this. But if there's some, for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser, but I also don't like to see people like struggling and that sort of thing. So what touches at my heart, I might be like, I'm on my last penny in my bank account right now because payday's in 2 days. But if I meet with somebody and they're, some crazy thing is happening in their lives and they're just having a moment, that compassionate part of me is going to probably pay for their meal just because of the kindness of my heart, not to bribe them into being my friend kind of thing. So just because you talk yourself up, I'm not going to do this, that doesn't mean you can't change your mind. But the point is the reason behind doing it.
And that's a great point because you're human too, obviously. So what I think I would do, I have compassion also. Like if someone showed up and their car just died and they had to give every penny to get a new car. Okay. Hey, let me go ahead and get Susie's drink. That's what works a lot for me. Hey, let me grab your appetizer. That way you're not,
versus the whole meal.
But that's always, compassion is always a beautiful reason, but I get you. That can be a dangerous road if you're feeling compassionate 5 times a week in pain.
Or if you also had a terrible week and so you're vulnerable, You're maybe not as strong as what you would like to be, but you don't want to disappoint your friend and cancel lunch or whatever. I think there could be many reasons that you end up paying, and it's okay if you accidentally pay because you're trying to buy their affection. But the point I'm trying to make is you're being more aware of it and you're consciously making that decision. And I think that's okay to do sometimes.
Because you're proud of yourself. You all might be wondering, what is the benefit of that? Because you're so empowered by it. When you stick to your boundaries, and you haven't been a person that's done this in the past, like myself, when you stick to those boundaries, it empowers you and you become stronger the next time and the next time and the next time. And then you've really gotten it down.
That's such a good point.
It's so true.
You're probably going to completely fail the first few times you try. But the more you do it, and it's a bravery thing too. It's
vulnerable.
Hard.
Very vulnerable.
And it's, to me, it's very brave to make those little changes.
Micro changes. They say baby steps.
1% better or 1% different or whatever.
Love that. Love that.
All right. So this is my last deep question. And then I have some rapid fire questions for you. So if someone listening is scared to choose themselves because they're afraid of losing people, what would you want them to know? Because I know you've had some people. I mean, I don't know your whole life story, but I know there's been some family members and some relationships and some like best friends that were like family that you have lost because of those boundaries you stuck to. So let me repeat that again, just to make sure that we're focused. If someone is listening, if someone listening is scared to choose themselves because they're afraid of losing people, what would you want them to know?
So, first of all, I want to say that I know the seriousness of this and the vulnerability to think that if you are going to be who you are and make these changes, that you're going to lose significant people in your life. Well, I think you and everyone watching knows the first answer, that if you lose these people, they were never true to you to begin with. Now, that's easy to say because some people would like to keep all the fake people around them because it's somebody, right?
It's somebody.
We don't have to be lonely. It's very true. Yeah. Okay. So I would say the people that you know that really matter, again, let them know that you're choosing this self-love path and you're trying to make these changes. And you have to be true to yourself and respect your new boundaries and your inner self. And again, we keep going back to like baby steps and micro changes. You have to start small. And if you start small and you see it's accepted and it resonates with that person, then, just tiny steps at a time, because a lot of us, like myself, I'm still trying to make changes from things that affected me in my childhood. So it's got to be baby steps. You just have to make that decision. This is like so true. And from my soul, like really, you have to make the choice that you are valuable and that you matter to yourself. And if you don't make those changes, even a little bit at a time, and you can make someone your partner that you check in with, if you never make those changes, you'll never know what it's like to be true to yourself and your true heart. And you'll never know the value of true connection and love and respect with someone. And when I found out that I could be like my own best friend, it's like I always have my back. And I never thought it would be so rewarding to find that within yourself, but it's so much more rewarding than finding it from someone else. And again, it's a combination. Like when you're in a relationship, you both give. It honestly, it has made me cry before, knowing the self-love I have for myself. And anyone that we love, anyone that I love, I want them to have that for themselves. And it's changed the air that I breathe. It really, and I'm still doing this process. So listen,
I think it's a lifelong process.
It really is. It really is. And Sarah and what she does has impacted me so much and rekindled so much of that within me, just having her as a friend, but knowing her amazing background and what she does. It's just putting all that positive energy out there. And again, we will all fall off and fail and go back to an old pattern. The point is recognizing that and knowing your worth moving forward.
Yeah. I have two thoughts on that, and so let's see if I can remember them both. So the first thought was, and I don't remember exactly what you said, but is to kind of start small, right? Like to have the courage to do it to one person, and maybe that person's somebody that like is super safe for you, right? Like a good example for most people, not everybody, but most people is like their parent, right? Most parents will support you no matter what.
Yes.
That's not always the case, but most parents would, right? So maybe the first person you communicate, hey, I'm working on myself, I'm setting boundaries, is your parent or your best friend, or like whoever you feel would be the most accepting of you working on yourself. And then the next person will be a little bit easier because you've taken that first jump and said, told that first safe person, that I'm working on myself. I'm enforcing boundaries, and then it gets easier each time you do it. And then now I knew I was going to forget the other point that I was going to make, but I can't remember exactly what you said that prompted this. But I attended a women's leadership conference a few years back, and one of the guest speakers was Glennon Doyle. Have you ever heard of Glennon Doyle?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was virtual, so I didn't get to meet her in person.
Oh,
but
still.
And I'm gonna botch how this was said, but the way it translated in my brain, she basically told a story about one of her children who was really upset because she really wanted to do this one thing, but she didn't think her mom would support her and I don't even remember what it was.
Right.
But Glennon, who has had some trauma herself and has done a lot of healing herself, she said to her daughter, who was a teenager at the time, basically she was enforcing that it doesn't matter what I think.
Right.
As your mom, I'm somebody else. But if you're disappointing yourself by making a choice that you think I will like, and that's going to disappoint you,
right.
Like, you're the most important thing. You need to make yourself proud. You need to support yourself.
Yes.
And I'm, of course it was probably difficult for her to say, like, don't disappoint me kind of thing. But that's
true love.
Yeah. Like, that's true love
and
is saying, well, hold on. If these are two significantly different choices and one's going to disappoint you and one's going to disappoint me, disappoint me. Don't disappoint yourself.
Yes.
Because back to kind of
that's
what we
beautiful.
started with is you're always going to be there for yourself.
Yes.
So I botched, how she said it, but
great.
the basic point was you should always be that number one priority.
Yes. And isn't it a gift to be the person that accepts someone that's never been accepted?
Yeah.
Like, you can give that to someone.
Yeah.
I love that. I got goosebumps.
Aww.
I really did. I love that.
Well, it was really cool to watch Glennon Doyle because I've read a few of her books and I listened to her podcasts and stuff. So it was cool that she spoke
I know
to
of her reputation.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, but and that was, it was during COVID, so it was probably 4 years ago that I heard this, and I still remember that. Make your choices for you, not for someone else. And that honestly, that probably is what prompted me to do work on myself.
Yes.
And start to recover from being a people pleaser.
And start a podcast, mind you. Yes.
All right. So let's move on to the rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire.
So what I want you to do is just answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. And it doesn't have to be super duper fast.
And I really don't know these.
Yeah, she doesn't know these questions.
Because when I saw rapid fire, I don't want, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm on the Jimmy Fallon show.
Oh, I don't watch that show, but some of the talk shows, they'll do this kind of thing.
Oh, and
I just
Ellen
thought it would
did
be fun. Oh, did she? All right. So what's one belief about yourself that you refuse to carry anymore?
Oh, that I am not a good person. I made so many huge mistakes in my life, and people will come up to me and say, oh my gosh, you're such a good person. And I would say, I'm really not. And I am a good person. And I've grown so much from the mistakes I made, but I made a lot of life-changing mistakes. However, they brought me to where I am. And, but my belief that I'm not a good person.
Well, the interesting thing about that, though, is by doing the work within yourself, you have come to realize that is not the truth, that you are a good person.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you won't ever have moments where you're like, I'm a terrible person.
Yes.
But it's that self-talk and recognizing those negative thoughts that we have and changing your thought process.
In the moment.
Yep. And, that doesn't mean you're not going to sit on the couch and, oh, woe is me. But the important thing is you've learned how to stop that thought, switch that thought around, and change your self-talk.
Absolutely. That is the whole thing you and I have discussed, is in that moment, that's when you do it. So I just want to say, for instance, I do a lot of being compulsive. I would eat emotionally. And in that moment, I'm like, I want something crunchy. I'm like, good, crunch a carrot, and I still have, but it's in that, you have to do it in that moment. That phrase, or there's a motivational speaker that talks about the difference of people that are in charge and motivated in their life and those that are not are the first 5 minutes they're awake. It might have been Anthony Robbins. He said, you're either putting on your tennis shoes or you're ordering a latte. Which one are you? Which is kind of a cute thing. But it's all, it's within like the first 5 minutes that you're awake. Okay, this is going to be my pattern today. So yeah, I really like that a lot. It keeps me centered.
Yeah. And you keep remembering that, and that's what motivates you to keep going.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. All right, next rapid fire question. What's one sentence that you say to yourself when you need to come back home to your center?
Yes. Let me give this one a second thought here. I say to myself, okay, come back. Let's be in the moment. We're in the moment. We're not in the past. We're not in the future. We're in this moment. This is what is at hand right now. What is it I need to do, think, say? Like, what is, we've kind of touched upon it, but truly in that moment, okay, let's take a breath. It's so important for me. Let's take a breath. Just kind of, I'll run to the restroom at work or something. Let's regather ourselves and remember where we are, who we're with. And I make it a point to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good too, because a lot of people, including me, have reacted versus taken that breath and that recentering to respond. Like it's okay to have a response, but if you gather your thoughts, recenter yourself, refocus yourself, and then respond to it versus react, I've experienced much better outcomes.
Absolutely. And I'm a compulsive knee jerk, let me tell you. So I love the way you said that. Those are words to live by for sure. I like that.
I do too. All right, next one. Which boundary was the hardest for you to set but changed everything?
Making myself available to people that did not have the best intentions for me. Making myself available, knowing that they might have just been using me, just making myself available to that. And why wouldn't they think that? Because that's what I did for so many years in the past. So again, what we just said, in that moment, I look at this person and the actions they've shown me, not their words. A million people have beautiful words. Look at their actions. Has this person gained the right to know my story and to be in my life? That it's really tough, because as I said, when you're in that moment, you've got that dopamine and serotonin going, this guy or whoever it is, I feel kind of a high when I'm around them. They praise me. And, in that moment, that's an intoxicating moment. So then to really have hold of what's best for you in that moment takes a lot of practice. And I have been doing that, and it's tough, and I still slip up on occasion, but I will honestly say about 75% of the time, I'm really looking at that situation. And, with age comes wisdom, as they say. And I always was kind of like, that's what I end up with, is wisdom. That's it. But I have to tell you, I'm glad that we're here and we're two different age brackets. And maybe some of the younger viewers can learn things that we've been through, and they can respect that because she's closer to their age, and then I'm in that older realm, but we are on the same page here. So that says it for itself, Well,
yeah, and I'm a person too. It's funny because part of my human design chart actually says that I should share my wisdom and my lessons learned. But I was doing that well before I knew anything about human design or even what human design was. So
that shows how true it is.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I'm not like super woo-woo or anything, but like everything that I've seen in my human design chart has been spot on for me.
I know. So when you did mine, crazy. The same thing. I'm not even kidding. I was like, okay, because we're friends, but we haven't been friends for that long. She knows some, but there's things that I was like, okay, I can tell this process really works, because just dead on. Yeah. But
the other point I wanted to make in response to your answer to that one is you said you still slip up sometimes, and it's going to happen. Like you can't undo decades of habits some of them subconscious, possibly.
Yes.
You can't expect that to change right then.
Exactly.
And it goes back to being brave enough to do it the first time, then brave enough to do it the next time and the next time. So, you know, I'm sure it wasn't easy for you the first handful or 2 times that you had to do that with the same person or with different people. But, you know, you've gotten better at it the more that you've done it.
It's an accumulation of time.
Yeah.
The same way someone's trying to lose 100 pounds in a month and it took you, you know, 20 years to gain that weight. It's micro changes and steps and putting them into play every day.
Consistency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's great. All right. This is the last rapid fire question. So what's one thing that you want every listener to remember about their own healing journey?
Oh, I love that. First of all, you know, everybody, as everyone says, everybody's journey is different. And I don't want people, this is a huge thing that I learned. I don't want people to think their past mistakes and what they've done define who they are, because it doesn't. And we could turn this into a whole other podcast if I told you about my past and the horrible decisions I have made. So just remember, you're on your path for a reason. It's no one else's, and you want to respect other people's path the same way that you want them to respect yours. There's no time limit. There's no rules except for your rules of what you know is going to work for you. And give yourself grace and time, and you'll slip up. And the most important thing I can possibly say, and this is one of the reasons I'm friends with Sarah, is you have to surround yourself with the right people, the right energy. You have to. Otherwise, you're not going to win a losing game. Is that how you say it? There's no possible way of,
that sounds good to me.
of winning if you have people in your realm that are not cheering you on. So, and just be patient with yourself. That's the biggest thing I'd say. And, you know, another big thing, cheer yourself on for the littlest of things. You know, you didn't eat that last cookie. You know, you told someone no because you weren't feeling well. And that's so important. Cheer yourself on, you know, reward yourself for the little things that you achieve every day, for sure.
Well, and I think that goes back to the people pleasing thing, right? Like I always give the example of when babies are learning how to talk and walk and stuff,
right?
The parents are right there going, yeah, good job, good job, good job.
That's so true.
But like, as
where
an
does
adult,
that go?
Right. Like as an adult, you might not have that support anymore for whatever reason, right?
That's great.
But like you are your own biggest cheerleader.
Yes.
So celebrate the wins. It actually, I don't know the science behind it or if this is really anything that's been said, but I truly believe that you cheering yourself on is more supportive than having somebody else cheering you on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just hits deeper. And it changes, as you said, it changes your design for the better. Like,
and I think it,
I
think it like supports your subconscious.
Yes.
And it encourage your subconscious to be focused on yourself and come back to yourself.
And great energy always wins. I always say love always wins. Great energy, great vibes. You can feel the difference in how it just changes a room that you walk in. I just love it.
There's one more thing that you had said earlier, and I forgot it because we've been having such a great conversation, but you had mentioned that you made a lot of mistakes in your past
life.
Have you ever considered flipping that script in your brain and instead of saying mistakes, lessons?
Oh, I like that.
And I say that.
That's a small thing. And listen to how big it was.
It's a very small thing. And not everybody would have picked up on that. But if you think about it, the word mistakes, it's a negative. It's negative. It's kind of sending upon yourself. And I'm not saying that like whatever choices you made maybe weren't the right choice. That's not what I'm like. They may not have been the right choice. However, it taught you a lesson. And then you, because you've done this work with yourself, you are able to switch, like turn those mistakes into something. I'm never going to do that again.
Starting that I'm not kidding you. That was so beautiful. That like really struck my heart. And it makes me happy because it made me give myself compassion.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, and support too. Like to me,
Yes.
the word lessons is more supportive
Yes.
than mistakes.
Yes, I like that.
So
Thank you.
consider switching that
Thank you.
verbiage.
See, I'm learning during this podcast as well.
We learn from each
You
other
know,
every time we talk to each
It's
other.
so true.
This is why I like Peggy. This is why I wanted her to be my first guest.
I'm honored.
Plus, before I even had recorded a podcast episode, when I was like, I think I'm going to create a podcast, Peggy's like, I want to be a guest.
I did. How honored am I to be the first one? I certainly will not be the last.
No, you'll be the first of many, hopefully.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap up today?
I think we have covered a lot, and I think it's a lot of information for them to sit with.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I'm sure you always do this. We would love their feedback
Oh,
because
absolutely.
you guys teach us too.
Yeah, for sure. And if there's anything that Peggy has said or that I have said today that really resonated with you, feel free to put a comment either on the social media post where I, am telling everybody that this podcast episode is out, or even in like Spotify and YouTube, you can put comments down there. I love hearing your feedback. I love hearing ideas of what you want me to talk about. And if you'll come, I would be honored to have you back and talk about something else eventually.
I would love that.
Because every time I talk with you, I think deeper and deeper about stuff.
And
there's
you do
always
that
something
for
that
me.
we learn from each other. So
absolutely.
All right. Now, as we end this conversation, I want you to really take this in. You are not here to chase approval or wait for permission. Your wisdom, your intuition, your direction already lives inside you. So instead of looking outward this week, please, please, please try to look inward. Ask yourself, what do I really want? What feels true to me? What choice honors the version of me that I'm becoming? And before we wrap up today, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to my first guest, Peggy, for being here today, for sharing your story, your honesty, and the wisdom that you've gained along your healing journey. Your openness and your courage matters, and I'm betting money, and I'm not a bettor, that you have encouraged and affected some of our listeners, at least one listener. And I think that's what's important for us to share our story is helping somebody else realize that they can make these changes and they can support themselves. All right. So if you want deeper support with what we talked about today, this is exactly the work that I do in my one-on-one coaching. Together, we focus on rebuilding self-trust, creating healthy boundaries, and learning how to listen to and lead from your inner voice. If that feels aligned for you, go to the discovery call scheduling link in the show notes and set up a 30-minute call with me to talk about it more. And if this episode spoke to you, please take a moment to like this podcast, follow it so you're notified when new episodes drop, leave a review, and share it with a friend. It means so much to me, and it helps spread this work to more people who need it. And don't forget, I'm taking applications to be a guest on my podcast, just like Peggy.
Yes.
So if you've overcome challenges, shifted your mindset, or have wisdom to share, I would love to feature you on the Shine Bright with Coach Sarah K podcast. Your story matters. So please go to shinebrightmindsetcoaching.com/podcast and click the apply now button to let me know that you want to be a guest. And I will put that link in the show notes too. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to Peggy and I share our stories. Thank you for choosing to trust yourself today. And I just want to say a big thank you to Shine Bright Mindset Coaching LLC for sponsoring this episode today. And until next time, remember, the answers that you're seeking aren't out there. They're already inside you, waiting for you to listen. See you next time, friend.
Thanks for hanging out with me on the Shine Bright with Coach Sarah K podcast. If today's episode inspired you, hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. Better yet, share it with a friend who might need a little bit of light today. I would love to hear your thoughts on today's topic, so leave a comment below or send me a DM on Instagram at Shine Bright Mindset Coaching. Until next time, keep shining. The world needs your light.